New friends, we're glad you're here. This is when I will start not talking about football and just reminding you that, you're here for our conversation on subscription boxes. Feel like we're on that beginning of the flight to Idaho where they announce the location and we just want to make sure everybody's where they want to be in that type of thing. Couple of housekeeping notes. The chat is open. That's going to be a wonderful place to drop questions. I'll keep a line on it for any technical issues, an eye on it for any tech issues that goes, and we'll do our best to resolve. We are recording, so that tape will be made available. We hope you'll share far and wide because that only strengthens the conversation. In a couple of minutes, as we get going, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Tony and our panelists up on the screen using some of these nice little Zoom features that we all know way too much about these days. And as long as you don't touch anything on your end, gosh willing, it's going to look like a TV show with about 4 squares right there. If you change and want to go back to a tile and go Brady Bunch on your view, we can certainly do that, whatever works for you. But at that point, I can't get you back. So if you want to be able to just focus straight in, don't touch anything. Got that, Nick? We're worried about you. I think those are the biggest housekeeping. It's wonderful to see everybody. It's wonderful to laugh with everybody. I think one of the beautiful things we have about this community is each other. So, content matters, but it matters as much as just the chance to say hi to friends. So I appreciate that on a personal level as well. It's good to see you all. As we dive in here, let's see if I can actually remember how to share a screen. I'm going to try right now. Let's see what happens when I pop this darn thing up and open. I'll be way ahead of where I want to be. So there we go. We're thrilled that you're here today. We're going to talk about subscription box successes, not just for publishers, but for media companies as well. That duality really matters to this conversation, and we're thrilled to have that conversation because if you remember one thing, what's that guiding North Star about this wonderful organization, MACMA, not MCMA, MACMA, is that it's where the conversation happens. And you all are the power of that. Tony and his panel is a wonderful collaboration to share some knowledge, but we can strengthen it even further with your active participation today. And I hope you will do that. If I click back on the slides, don't forget, we're a community, so membership matters. Come find us, let us know, time to renew your membership. Help at the, now not the MCMA, the MACMA.org. We'll get off that one quick so you don't, the email still works, but it's not the right one to use. We're all over social. This is where you can find us. That hashtag, Lisa's going to just want me to say about 12 times. Use that hashtag, that hashtag, that hashtag. Got that, Nick? That hashtag. And we'll go from there. And a big thanks to our sponsors here, trying a little bit more just to try and help them stand out because without them, we are not. As you see them, there's some of them on the line. You know how much you're loved. Hopefully a logo just reinforces that another inch. So we thank all these folks. We thank all these folks as well for what they do for us. You can keep up on the website with what's going on. Come back regularly. This tape will be there hopefully before you know it. This is when I stop, say our illustrious president is on the line. She's going to have a lot to share, including telling you about the holiday party December 1st at Hearst Tower with quizzes. And before the quiz show, Nick will post the odds of what team will win the quiz show that day, and we'll see how well he does it at something not called football. Lisa, all you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and putting up with our little football banter first. We are so thrilled you're here. Honored that that Tony and team from SFG are leading the way today. An illustrious panel we can't wait to learn from. So excited. As Todd just mentioned, December 1st, live in person. We are honored to be hosting the holiday extravaganza at the Hearst Tower. More details to come, but it'll be a fun, engaging, team building day, and we hope you can all join us. It promises to be a great day. So I am thankful and grateful you're all here. I'm grateful to all of our sponsors, and we just did see the slide thanking everybody. And again, thank you to SFG, CDS, and everybody else as well. So I want to thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Tony Pytlak. Tony, thank you. And we're looking forward to learning from you guys today. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Todd. Welcome, everybody. I've known these speakers, the panelists, in various capacities for quite a while now. So I'm excited to be moderating this panel. Before we dive in, let's go through some short biographical background so everyone knows where you're from. So if you would start off, Chris, with a little bit of background about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. My name is Chris George. I'm the co-founder and chairman of SUBTA, which is a subscription trade association. We built the largest community of direct-to-consumer subscription brands. We also run the largest event called Sub Summit, where we bring all those brands together. Prior to that, I was the co-founder and CEO of the Gentleman's Box, which was acquired in 2020. So started in the subscription space and then built a community around it.
Thanks, Chris. Sarah.
Sure. Sarah Gerkhardt. I am from Kalmbach Media, where I manage e-commerce, product development and sourcing, digital marketing, and our creative team, and then also our most recent subscription box, Space and Beyond Box. My past experience has included digital marketing at both publishing and e-commerce companies.
Thanks, Sarah. How about you, Mark?
And I'm Mark Oedekoven again. So thankful to be here presenting to all of you today. I am the president and COO of Annie's. At Annie's, we have a combination of subscription boxes that go across all the gamuts from fiction books to craft kit clubs. And we've been in the subscription box business since 2001. So really looking forward to talking about that knowledge.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chris and Sarah as well. So I'm Tony Pytlak, President and Chief Operating Officer at SFG. As I mentioned, excited to be here. I've worked with these three panelists, again, in various capacities. They're experts in their fields. And I'm also excited because their backgrounds that they've explained to you in the business model we're going to go through today, I've had personal experience in my career as well. So a little bit about me. 15 years on the quote client side, right? Working for companies such as Grainger, Ryman Media Group, Reader's Digest Association, and GE, having experience in this business model as well as others. And then for the last 15 years, leading SFG in providing the vendor side of the equation for such companies as these great panelists represent. So subscription and product-oriented businesses are what we do and what you're going to hear a lot about today, especially in the subscription-oriented model. So let's dive right in. You've all mentioned a little bit about your products. So keeping those in mind, what are some of the factors that help you decide to launch into a subscription box model? Or if you've already been in that model for a while, what makes you feel like you want to add a new box program to your portfolio? Chris, would you like to give a start there?
Yeah, so I think, what becomes important with subscription boxes, in some sense, I said this when we started Gentleman's Box, we had a really good partnership with GQ magazine early on. And it felt like the sub box was like the new magazine in some sense. And, instead of just reading about products and seeing pictures of them, you'd actually get them in a box. So I think a big part in making a decision on whether or not you want to start a subscription box is, are there products with brands you have relationships with that you can put together that can build an experience that can go to the consumer? Subscription boxes are able to build an experience that a consumer might not get on a retail level.
Mm-hmm.
You look at like the big elephants in the room, the Amazon.com, the Walmart.com, they're always going to be able to ship something to the consumer faster and sell it to them cheaper. But with a subscription box, you can put together a group of products, build an experience around it, provide value, and have that delivered to them monthly. That's how you can compete. And I think when making the decision, is there a better way for us to engage with the consumer? And can we provide them products of value and then use that to build a relationship, to build a brand? That's sort of how I see it.
Good points. Thanks, Chris. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
So here at Kalmbach, with our most recent box, we really focused on using the subscription box as an extension of our brand. So we already knew we had the magazine audience who was engaged. We have a content site audience that was very engaged. We also were seeing significant growth on the product side on My Sign Shop, where we create our own products, but also sell third-party products. So we saw the opportunity to kind of bring all of that together in another subscription type product. So we launched Space and Beyond Box, which is a quarterly astronomy themed box filled with 6 to 8 full-size products. And we really leaned heavily on our internal team, which already had experience with managing a subscription and marketing around subscriptions and the product manufacturing process. And so we really leaned on them to create an internal team without a lot of investment in a whole new team to launch this. So it really was just how can we serve our customers in another way and engage with them in another way.
Thanks, Sarah. Mark, your thoughts?
I would probably agree with both of what Chris and Sarah said, that it really starts with that customer experience and focusing on what it is you can bring value to that nobody else can, with products and services that are unique to your ability to bundle, while also building off what Sarah's saying, and that's how do I build that brand extension, whether that is from being a retailer or from a magazine company, and now providing a customer something that reminds them every month of that brand that's called, in our case, Annie's, or in the Gentleman Club, or whatever that is.
So can you dig into that a little bit more, each of you? Mark, you start since you're right there, about your product. What are some of the features of the products that really appeal to your customers? What's important when you put together your product offering?
I think that to start with, one of the most important things is that the product has to be engaging, right? I mean, it really has to drive something from them that they can't get anywhere else, and can see it themselves. We do everything from Afghans to home decor to products that teach individuals different things, and so that product for each time has to be engaging to them, right? I mean, it's really that creating that part, and that engagement starts with the packaging itself when they get something, and it then extends itself all the way through the product. We believe that it needs to have a story to tell, right? And that story is what are they going to get with each shipment? Is that going to be something I'm going to complete in a single shipment, or is it going to be something that each time I get something, it's going to expand what I actually have along the way? We have fiction book series that do that, right? Each part tells a different part of the story. We have, like I said, our Afghan clubs, where you start with one thing, and over time you end up with a complete package. I think Chris was hitting on it. It has to have value to the customer that they can't get anywhere else, right? And that value might not be that each individual part and piece, is the cheapest, but combined in a way that the customer sees something that they hadn't thought about before. So all those are pieces. And the last, I would say, it wants them anticipating, what am I going to get next month, right? This was so exciting and so engaging. What's that next piece I'm going to get along the way? And it's that surprise and wonderment that keeps them coming along.
So you use the word wonderment. When I think about that, Sarah's product, Space and Beyond box, right? How do you bring that wonderment to your enthusiasts, who probably are all about astronomy, space, et cetera, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. So I kind of going back to what Mark was saying about just the experience and that value. We want to deliver a different experience every box. So we change up our theme from one box to the next, and we avoid duplicating themes as much as possible, even though we know that there's a decent amount of churn and people are leaving and coming in. But we really focus on that experience. And so one theme, and we try to bring together a group of products that are really going to appeal and tie into that theme, both on the content side, since we do know we have a strong content presence with our website and our magazine, but also just fun add-ons that they can just enjoy and share with friends and family. A lot of, most of our brands are all related around some sort of hobby, and astronomy is no different. So when are you going out and observing, and when are you sharing your experience in that with family and friends? So we try to pull that into the box as well. And then, what Mark mentioned about value, that's a big part of it too. They want to know that they're getting more value than, what they should be expecting every month. So we try to really focus on a really strong, what we call anchor product, to kind of tie into that theme. And then we'll layer on products from there and keep it all related to that theme.
Chris, you've seen a lot of boxes through your leadership at SUBTA and also your own gentleman's box. Any further thoughts about what
Yeah,
you've seen?
for sure. Actually, my brain just started running when they just started talking, giving me some thoughts. One, Mark hit on a really good point about having like the consecutiveness of the boxes be building towards something. So if you look at the success of a company called Hunt to Killer, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it's a murder mystery box. Every time you get that delivered, like it's a new story and you're solving this murder mystery, and you're not quite completing it until you get the next box. And it's like over the course of a year, and there's seasons, and like it's so smart because it keeps the consumer engaged. And so what aligns with that, and what I was going to suggest as I started thinking about this more and with the publishers that might be watching, is the subscription box is actually your way to build a community. So typically, like, they're getting this content from you guys, and there probably isn't as much community engagement. You can actually use the subscription box to build a community. The biggest and best brands have built communities around them. If you look at like FabFitFun, their consumers have they have box opening parties where like the consumers get together and they open it together. Like, they're building a community there. The Hunt to Killer community has a Facebook group where people are like trying to give each other hints, and they're talking about, you know, the delivery of that subscription that month. So, you know, I think that becomes a really big part of it, is like, how do we leverage the subscription box, not to just say like, hey, we've got more subscribers, or like we want to drive more revenue. It's, well, how can we build a community around it? How can we get the customers more engaged? And then that's just going to result in more revenue.
That's perfect. You talked about opening parties, which brings me to my next question. A lot of times consumers directly relate the packaging that they receive with the brand that is sending the product, right? So let's talk a little bit about the packaging and presentation, right? We've seen box opening parties. We've seen YouTube videos of the big reveal when I open my next thing from brand X, right? So Sarah, talk a little bit about how you decided how to package Space and Beyond box and others.
Yeah, so for us, we really looked at kind of the quality, the uniqueness, making sure our brand was carried through on the outside packaging, but also as soon as they open that box. So each box feels like it's filled, regardless of the number of products or the sizing of products in it. As soon as they open it, they're going to see our Space Particles magazine that comes with each box. So they kind of have this collection of magazines that they're getting. It has our branding front and center. And then as they're opening the box, we also want to make sure that, you know, there's some sort of tie-in of, you know, what does this product mean for this theme? So within the magazine, we also kind of explain, you know, a little bit about each product to get them really excited about it. How can they use it? How do they tie that back to the content that's in the magazine? So it's really kind of pulling back to that whole experience, from the point of them seeing it on their front doorstep to actually opening the box and then starting to share it and experience it. One of the kind of interesting things about the packaging though too is it has to serve different products every month. So for us, one month we may have a globe that is a 6-inch globe that fills the box quite a bit, and another month we may have a small space model that takes up a much smaller kind of space in it. So then when we're developing that product mix, we really have to consider how are these all going to fit together. So not just the theme, but the filling the box as well.
Perfect. Mark, Annie's is pretty brand oriented. Talk a little bit about the packaging with respect to your products.
Yeah, so we try to take the package from both what they're going to see on the outside, but also the packaging that they're going to receive on the inside, right? To make sure that the outside is very branded and reminding them of the reason that they picked this, right? Whether it's a creative girls club in which it's very whimsical and very creative on the outside, to if they're going to get a yarn or a fabric, right? Reminding them of the fun things that they're going to do with each and every one of these, all the way to a box that we have, which is called Genius Box, right? Which is for kids to do STEM, and it reminds them of the importance of STEM and STEM education. But as they open that box, they now get exposed to a set of packaging inside the box, not just outside the box. And so all the parts and pieces are laid out and packaged in a certain way to continue that experience, right? Because the last thing you want is you open your product of the month and everything just kind of explodes out on you. kind of taking that Lego approach, right? Where you open it and package one is to build this part and package two is to do that. That's an important part to make sure that that experience is pulled all the way through it, right? And maybe you don't have time today to do that kit. So you want to open it and still know that it's still all contained. So we spend a lot of time thinking about the experience, not just from what they get when they first see it, but how they're actually going to digest it along the way.
Perfect. How about you, Chris? You've seen a
Yeah.
lot of different packages, right?
I mean, just in general, packaging is an extension of your brand, right? I mean, take a $3 pair of sunglasses and throw them in a really nice case, and a consumer is going to spend $150 on them. Take a $50 pair of sunglasses and throw it in a poly bag, and like someone's going to spend $10 on them, right? I think, it's an extension of the experience, as Mark noted, but what becomes more important is like it's an extension of the brand. If you look around your house, the only box you probably ever save is your Apple one, if you're an Apple person, right? Nobody throws those away. The reason for that, it's the when it gets there, that feeling of like sliding it open. And I'm pretty sure, like, I heard that they like timed that. So it would take 3 seconds to like slide the iPhone out of the box, or that was all part of their experience, right? So you get this feel of like, this is luxurious. I don't want to throw this away. That's building brand. And I think with subscription boxes, you want to have that same sort of feel. Not to mention now, I mean, everybody's operating on their phones. Social media is at a blink of an eye. Someone's going to take a photo. They're going to do an unboxing experience. It's going to be on the internet within seconds. So if that's going to happen, take advantage of that by having really good branding and really good packaging and experience. That when other consumers see it, it'll get their attention. Even if it's like sitting on the doorstep, right? Like sitting on the doorstep of a home, like you look at like the Chewy box, it's huge brown, yeah, but there's a huge blue Chewy.com on the side of it. So you're driving by, like you could drive by a front porch and be like, oh, that's a Chewy box, right? And so I think it's just important to use that to your advantage for brand and experience.
Great points, everyone. So a lot of the talk about packaging and product make me think of cost, right? So the cost model might be different for the folks that are watching this panel. Let's talk about how you might overcome some of those costs with respect to how do you market a subscription box, how it might be different than marketing a traditional media product, for example. So what kind of campaigns do you use? Direct mail, email, SEO, social media, et cetera. Sarah, you want to kick that off with a marketing mix conversation?
Yep. So I would say that our marketing when we first launched the box is quite a bit different than what we're doing now. When we first launched, we really truly relied heavily on our email list. We had that existing customer base there. So we leaned heavily into that, promoting to our audience, and they already had kind of a familiarity with our brand and what kind of products we are already putting out. So we just elaborated on that a bit more. As we've gone over the past 3 years, we've really shifted more to how do we acquire new audiences. And that's not to say we weren't working on acquisition initially, but there was a lot more just testing the different acquisition channels initially. Whereas now we've identified that Google paid ads and Facebook paid ads are driving a decent amount of traffic to our site. And more recently, we've started to kind of dive a little bit more into the influencer area and try to build a network there. We have a pretty low budget, so we have tested out unpaid influencers. We've also tested out paid to some extent, but it's surprising how much traffic our unpaid influencers can really drive through their, Instagram pages, their TikTok pages, through YouTube. So we've really just focused more on kind of nurturing those relationships, and then also looking at other opportunities for partnering with influencers or other product vendors or other similar companies to ours.
Good deal. Chris, you have anything to add there?
Yeah, look, I think it's a loaded question, right? And when it comes to marketing the product, a big part of it's like, you got to first understand, like, where's the consumer's attention? Right? Where are they spending their time? And that's where I'm going to dictate what product I'm going to, that's going to dictate what kind of marketing campaigns I'm going to put together, right? So if you look at, like, if it's a product offering that needs a little bit more of an explanation, like, then yeah, looking at YouTube, working with influencers, people that might be doing reviews of the product, that works really well. If it's a product offering where you can take a photo of it And in that photo, I can identify what I'm going to get. Then I'm going to do, more Facebook. I'm going to leverage some of that. I mean, at the end of the day, digital marketing on Facebook and Instagram is going to more than likely be the #1 source because of so much attention's there and the ability to target the right audience is there. But starting to get creative is what's going to become important, especially moving forward. With the iOS updates, it makes it harder to track. You have to look at the top of the funnel traffic differently. You've got to use more landing pages so you can accurately measure like the success of the different campaigns. More recently, and I think if anybody here is either struggling or looking for some growth hack marketing on the digital side, one of our partners, My Subscription Addiction, they've come up with this growth hack where they're using social ads and directing the consumers to a written blog versus right to the consumer's homepage or right to the brand's homepage. Huge success there. And the biggest reason is like the consumer behavior when seeing the ad set. They see an ad that they think is a third-party review of the product, which it is. And they're getting like an authentic review that's then directing them to the website for the conversion. This growth hack is working really well because consumers like to read reviews. And I think that as marketers, for marketing for any sort of subscription or any sort of brand, you've got to get super creative. And that's one way to do it. And again, find out where the attention of the consumers are. And that's where I'm pouring fuel to the fire on like how I'm doing my marketing. You look at email, like email's feeling like it's dead and you're going towards SMS and eventually that's going to get killed because everybody's going to get tired of getting text messages. But, I think what's important to think about with subscriptions in general or subscription boxes is like what that checkout flow looks like when the consumer lands on your website. So you can spend all this money, get all this top of the funnel traffic, and 4 or 5 years ago, inherently, we would have said like push them through checkout extremely fast. But you don't want to do that actually with subscriptions because you're trying to build a relationship with the consumer. So I like to like put them through like what's called like micro commitments where we're asking them questions, gathering data around the consumer. Like, for example, for Gentleman's Box, we would ask questions like, how often do you wear a tie? How many days a week do you wear a tie? How important is fashion? Are you trying to look more dapper? How many days a week do you shave? The consumer is now like starting to engage with us and they're more likely to convert. And then we like kind of played a little bit of like a game where we said like you had to apply to be a member of Gentleman's Box, even though everybody got approved, but the consumer thought they were going through this process and they were engaging with us. We ended up seeing much higher conversion rates. We were gathering data for the ones that didn't convert and then we were able to remarket to them later on. So I know I just spewed out a bunch of stuff, but like that's how I feel towards it.
That's good. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Good examples. Mark, how does Annie's approach the marketing mix?
So we are hungry for every customer we can go find, right? So we are in about every channel you can imagine, right? So we are sending out direct mail to individuals. We play into what both Sarah and Chris talked about. We're into Facebook, Google, TikTok, YouTube, right? We spend a lot with influencers. We've even been on a lot of podcasts, and we did even radio ads and TV. I think ultimately it comes down to really to Chris's point, understanding who that audience is that you're going after and finding out where they're spending their time, and then building experiences and messages to specifically what they're interested in based upon what they're doing at the time in which you're interacting with them. And I think that's kind of how we play out our marketing pieces here.
Good. I want to acknowledge that we've got some questions coming in, which we'll get to in a minute. So I just wanted the audience to know I see them coming in. Let's talk about the other side of, so we've talked a lot about acquisition, right, in this part. Talk a little bit about churn. I've seen for the partners that we work with that churn is a little different in a subscription box arena than it is in a traditional magazine marketing scenario. Sarah, could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so we focus quite a bit on churn as a metric of success rather than renewals. Since obviously all subscription boxes are going to renew at their original term. But there's a much higher cancellation rate with subscription boxes when compared to an annual magazine subscription. So if someone is in a quarterly subscription, you're less likely to get them to stay on for 4 boxes than you are with a magazine subscription where out of the gate, they know they're going to get, you know, however many issues are in a year. And we really try to mitigate this a little bit more with an increased customer communications. So between boxes, we're continuing to talk to them about different subscriber perks that we have, such as giveaways, other discounts on individual boxes, free downloads that they can get. And we try to rotate those out. And then we'll also kind of supplement that a little bit more with booster products between the box. So if we know that, you know, between boxes 2 and 3, someone is likely to cancel, we may go to them and say, here's a freebie, mail it to them and just as like a fun little gift. So it really is more focused on that continuing engagement outside of just the box too. Rather than with the magazine subscription, they're getting their issue every month and they may visit the website, but it's not as much of, you know, here's another product for you.
Mark, do you see any difference with churn in your models?
Yeah, we do. And ours is a little bit different. We don't have a lot of what I'll call prepaid like you would in the magazine. Ours is more like that customer coming to the newsstand where it's a month-to-month type of commitment, right? And they can choose at any given time to leave. And so churn is the most critical metric we watch, right? I mean, because this dictates everything, how much we can spend to acquire customers. And it also defines how well those different projects are doing, right? Or products are doing. So, you know, it is vastly different, you know, because you are fighting this thing every single month, as opposed to, you know, the magazine subscription. Once you have them, you have some period of time before that they're actually up for renewals. And so it feels like you're in constant renewal mode, right, for these people. And I think that's really the battle that you have to put your mindset to.
Chris, any further thoughts on churn?
Yeah, look, I mean, with a subscription box, it's a very different product than a magazine. Right? So a magazine, the consumer is signing up and they know they're going to get content. And more than likely, they probably like it and they're going to stick around for a certain period of time. With the subscription box, they have multiple reasons why they might want to cancel. They don't like the stuff that comes in there. They got too much product where they're getting product fatigue. It's more expensive than a magazine, right? So it's like these are two very different products, and the way you approach it's very important. I think for subscription boxes to limit churn, it's like you've got to survey the customers monthly. Ask the questions: did you like the items in the box? Have them rate each item that goes into the box. All that data has become very important. When they go to cancel, ask them why. Is it because I got too many products? Is it because I didn't like something? Is it because I can't afford it? And then even more importantly, is when you send out a survey, this is a really good tip. I think that anybody could use this for their business. So we used to send out a survey and there'd be 3 smiley faces on there. There'd be like a sad face, like a medium, like mad face, and there'd be a happy face. If the consumer clicked the sad face or the middle face, it was an immediate trigger to customer service. So that our customer service team could then reach out to them and be proactive about like, hey, we saw you weren't completely satisfied with this month's box. Like, what can we do to be better? If they clicked the happy face, then we immediately sent them to a page that said, hey, like, thank you so much for like all your support with us. Like, here's a like pre-populated link to share this on your social channels. So in that case, we were like taking advantage of the people that were the promoters and like trying to encourage them to promote us. And then those that were like super unhappy or maybe a little bit unhappy, we had immediate customer service reach out, which allowed us to be proactive. I think too many brands are reactive with churn. They're trying to win them back after they've already lost them. And they're not offering things when they like prior to that, and or being proactive and identifying like there's an issue here. Let's be proactive and reach out to them. And then like my biggest tip for churn is like identify what the average churn is. And then there's going to be this second tier, right? Because for some brands, average churn might be like 4, 5, 6 months. But there's going to be this turn. There's just going to be this like group of individuals that are more like supporters of you, and they're going to cancel, let's say around month 7, month 8. Let's say it was month 8. In month 7, hit them with an offer to sign up as an annual subscriber, even if it's 20% off. Because now I just extended lifetime value by 12 months, and now they're on for 20 versus 8. And something that like you just have to look at the data more and be more proactive than reactive.
So thanks for, I'm going to bounce off the example you gave about the smiley face emails and following up with folks, you also gave an example about using data in Gentleman's Box to create more engagement. Let's talk about data. So Chris, you've given some good examples there. Mark or Sarah, do you have any examples you'd like to share about how you might either collect your own data or use other data to continue the marketing and the relationship with your subscription box customers? Mark, you want to go first if you've got?
Yeah. So I think, and I think all of us would agree, data is king, right? And the more that you know, the better you can actually do things on, and it can help you not only acquire but retain those customers. I mean, we have found from our customer base where through the data, you know, it suggested that people really wanted to get subscriptions a lot more faster than month to month to month. And so the data helped us, quantify whether that was a decision worth making. And so we went to providing individuals on a 2-week basis so that they could, instead of getting it monthly, they could get it on a every 2-week perspective. And that was a lot of strong debate, because it was like at $25 a kit, where they really wanted to spend $50 a month instead of just $25 a month, right? And so we use the data to try to walk into that. And today we see about 25% of the people picking that every 2-week option. So it's making sure you're listening to those customers, right? It helped us expand colors, right? I mean, we started with one Afghan, if one pattern, and now we have 5 different Afghan patterns, with each have between 3 and 6 colors, right? I mean, and it is that ability to expand and to understand the customer and what they need by listening to what the data is actually telling. But to Chris's point, it also has given us leverage points to, he leveraged it to say, we know now when the drop-offs of these customers primarily happen. And so we can get out in front of that and to communicate with those customers, because we can get one more month out of them. That's gold, right? I mean, let alone get 2, 3, 4, 5, or another year. Right. Those are the pieces that you just really focus on. And how do I give offers and benefits to extend that customer I've already gotten my, in my portfolio.
Sarah, would you like to add any data examples?
Yeah, I would just expand on what Chris was saying about surveys. I think they're extremely important. After every box that we send to our customer, we're sending an email survey to them, and collecting not only information on the products that were in that box, but also just their overall feel for the box. Are they going to tell friends about it? Would they give a gift? We collect, additional comments, that type of thing. And it helps us to kind of gauge their ongoing response to make sure we're going in the right direction with our products and our theme. But it's also a huge driver in us determining that plan for ongoing themes. So we started to identify early on that, more difficult to comprehend themes such as black holes did not perform as well for us. We just have really poor responses to the survey. And so we were able to shift to more the, I don't want to say basic, but more easier to understand concepts like planets and galaxies, things like that. It also gave us kind of another way to gauge our products. So we would be able to identify, we put a puzzle in one of our boxes. People did not have good ratings about that. So we knew, okay, we're not going to do puzzles anymore, or we need to change the type of puzzle. It also, things like our globes, we include a 6-inch globe probably 2 to 3 times a year. And that has become a favorite to our audience. They constantly are asking for more globes to grow their collection. So it helped us with the product mix, the themes, and it also helped with our marketing then too, because then we knew we could promote to new customers. You get a globe in this box as a one-off to kind of tease that and to get them to subscribe. So I would just say, as much as you can survey and collect from your audience directly from them is very, very important.
Excellent. Okay, so I see some questions popping up that are related to our next, and we'll probably call this the final question before we get to the audience questions. Why don't we go through and comment on the pros and cons of fulfilling subscription boxes in-house versus using an outsourced provider? What factors are important to consider in those scenarios? And when I say fulfillment, it could be other things as well? Anything operationally that you might consider doing in-house versus outsourcing to somebody else? Mark, would you start?
Sure. When I think about the difference between the in-house and the outsourcing, there's several things that come to mind right offhand. From a outsourcing standpoint, the ability to rapidly grow is one of the major benefits from having a third party do things for you, right? I mean, so I think about as Annie's grows and expands, we don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about hiring. We don't have to think about how are we going to onboard people? How are we going to manage them? We're not having to think about, what are the process optimizations we have to go through to make sure that this fits in with something else. We can quickly tie into the expertise of an outsourced company that this is what they do day in and day out. They can also provide us with quick feedback to say, you know what, based on what you're trying to get to, you might think about doing it this way versus that way, right? And so this is a really great way to leverage that. I think about other places I've been where we did do it in-house, but we were, very, very large companies, right? We already had the operational fulfillment piece well defined and well described, right? And so I could also see if you were a mom and pop, right, where you are doing it out of your garage, right, then it probably makes sense to be doing it, from an in-source standpoint where you don't have the dollars to do that. But really, I think that as you're in that middle sweet spot, outsourcing is very positive because, of the things I already talked about.
Thanks, Mark. How about you, Sarah?
So for us, we've had a few subscription boxes now. With the first one, we outsourced most of the work, product manufacturing, sourcing, the whole fulfillment process was all external. And I think this really gave us a chance to learn the overall process, issues that you run into, how to manage against them. It was beneficial at that time. When we launched Space and Beyond Box, we tried to retain more in-house. And a lot of that was just to kind of manage the cost better, and the quality of our products, the timing around them. And we also already had that expertise of product development and sourcing internally. So it was easier for us just to do it rather than try to find a vendor who had very specific knowledge around that. The other thing is, we still do rely on a third party. We use SFG for our fulfillment. And they really manage more of the pre-kitting of the box, getting it shipped out. And that has really helped us with our shipping costs overall, because internally we don't ship large enough quantities to really get that cost savings. So we've leaned on SFG to help us with that, and also just their expertise on kind of managing the subscriptions. The actual, order collection though, we're using a third-party website where we use Chargify, where we collect that order, and then they're helping us manage those renewals and the messaging around that as well.
Thanks, Sarah. How about you, Chris? Your experience in town versus outside?
I think both of them touch on all the things. I think the next big thing is like when you scale it, like in my opinion, it's like an automatic to outsource, unless you can have multiple fulfillment centers. There's a big advantage, like if you're nationwide, to work with a fulfillment center that might have locations on the West Coast, and the East Coast, and Central, because then you can have everything shipped zones 1 through 4, which can be a huge shipping savings. It also cuts down the time it takes for the consumer to get the product. So I think it's like, as you're smaller, you might do it in-house, save yourself a little bit of the headache. As you're like mid-level, you can say, well, you can be like real entrepreneurial and like build out the whole operation and save some costs. But like, if you're going to go to scale, in my opinion, I'm outsourcing this. I'm letting a fulfillment center, or maybe I'm doing a percentage of it in-house and I'm outsourcing 75% of it to take advantage of those zones.
And Tony, I'm just going to jump in. And to your point that you think you started with, I think it goes beyond just fulfillment, right? It could be your customer service.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that you want to look at when you're thinking about whether to have it in-house or outsourced. And I agree with both what Sarah and Chris said.
That's a good point. Thanks. Yeah, we didn't talk much about customer service, but there were hints at it throughout with the customer engagement and using different channels. So a very important piece of this. So let's get to the questions. I mentioned as a segue, the operations and fulfillment. There's a question here from Meg. For magazine publishers, does your fulfillment house handle the subscription box, or do you need to farm it out, and to whom? I know some fulfillment houses do sub boxes like SFG, but not all do. So Sarah and Mark.
Yeah, I
magazine publisher.
can chime in on this. So we, SFP handles our fulfillment of our magazines, and they also handle our subscription box. And like I said, a lot of that was just the cost savings there. We had a partner we already were working with. We had a relationship with them, so we're able to kind of lean on their expertise with subscription boxes, but also bring in our own knowledge to help build our box and grow it.
And we're in the same place, with SFG, with both our magazines and our subscription boxes. And again, I'll point out again is that I think that the purchasing power that we have by being in that consolidation, and that the ability to get the postal savings and to get that knowledge that we're going to get stuff out on time is monumental here.
I would agree. From the vendor side of things, any magazine publisher, if you are already doing a sub box outside of your traditional magazine fulfillment house, consider asking them if they can do it. Make sure that they've got A, the systems to handle it, and B, the volume enough to get you some good shipping discounts, just for the record there. All right, some other things. We have something, someone says, does anyone have examples of a box that they can grab and show? Lisa said she has a part of a box, and I see some behind Sarah there. So anyone want to do a show and tell real quick? What do you got there, Lisa? What do you got, Lisa?
So I got gifted Bella box, and this is not a commercial for them, but I didn't know what it was. And anyway, there's these candles that come every month, and they all have different scents, and they always come with these adorable little pouches. And then they were amazing. They would put in these different sample products and a really nice, calming or meditative saying. It was really a lovely gift. And I just thought I fell in love with it. And again, the branding, it was the same size box. It was a candle and something little that fit in it. So I guess my question to you guys is, knowing what we've all gone through in the last 2 years with the postal increases and the disaster in the post office, how much of that affected the size of what any subscription box that any of you offered? How much did that play into what you sent out or shape it in any way?
I can chime in here. So for us, we didn't decrease our size of our box or the size of the products or anything like that. However, we did take a much closer look at our cost overall and decrease the cost of the products within the box. So it's just that overall cost structure between, balancing out the increased shipping costs and then the lower product cost to kind of balance us out and keep our P&L in a point where we're okay with it.
I think it's important to point out, though, that you don't want to compromise quality by putting lower priced products in there. So, I think one thing is, in some cases, you saw subscription boxes that increased their price. You can grandfather in people that were already in, but I think you're seeing some increases. Size of the box has never been an issue. It's more the weight. But that's also, again, where you get strategic about the zoning, using multiple fulfillment centers, because then you're going to get zones 1 through 4 on shipping. Like that could help combat that cost. But I think too, it's like, I think some people, too many brands are afraid to increase price. I think like if you're building a really good brand that has a really good experience, a slight increase should not affect the brand. If the customer is going to cancel over a 5 to 10% increase in price, they're probably not a good LTV, high quality customer anyways. And you want to focus on the ones that can afford that. We increased our price on Gentleman's Box from $25 to $29 a month, saw no decrease in customer acquisition. We then launched our quarterly premium at $99 a quarter. Our LTV was 4x. I mean, we went from a company that was burning cash to a company that was super profitable and then getting acquired because we had a higher priced product.
Sarah, we have a request for you to open one of the boxes you've got if you have a chance.
Do that. So
There you
here's
go.
the box packaging. You kind of see it behind me. So on all sides, we try to have our box logo or something representing our brand. I'll try to show you. So within the box, how I mentioned, you have your mini mag front and center. So our branding is right there. This mini mag is essentially just, it's a smaller magazine that has, you know, about our product, our articles pulled directly from our parent brand, Astronomy. And then within there, I talk about our anchor product. So this is a globe, a 6-inch globe. We also have products such as books. So we know that our audience just loves their content, anything they can get content related. So this is kind of a fun, if you ever want to travel to Mars, it has all your maps, everything you need to know about it. And then we've done a lot to really grow the exclusive products we have. So you'll see in here, this is a topographic model of the Jezero crater where the Perseverance Mars rover just landed. And so this is an example of, we're trying to create our own products that are unique. Someone can't go and just find this anywhere else. So we're working with a lot of Etsy sellers to come up with these new products, and it's been really beneficial to us. And then we have Jezero crater regolith simulant, and you'll see that we have a lot of little boxes within boxes where we have branding on it. And then we throw into little kind of fun add-ons, a pin. We've thrown in lollipops, planet lollipops, different magnets that they can throw up on their fridge. And for the add-ons, we don't always make sure they match the theme of the box, but so you'll see, like we did, I think it was a planets box, we threw in a NASA magnet. So not a direct correlation, but still loosely related to astronomy overall. So, and then to kind of fill our box, we use crinkle paper. I'm sure people love that when they're taking out and there's all this crinkle paper, but it helps us because with the varying different sizes of products, it really helps make it feel like it's a full box.
Agreed. All right, so let's crank through some of these other questions. You can have a subscription box of any frequency, correct? Quarterly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever, or should it be the same frequency as the host publication?
Any,
I think it doesn't matter. You can,
doesn't matter, yeah.
yeah.
Agreed. I've seen the multiple models. So yeah, great, good question for someone who might want to start one. All right, have you seen the subscription box model in B2B?
Yeah. Snack Nation did it.
Who was that?
Snack Nation.
Okay,
Snack
Snack
Nation.
Nation.
They delivered, you know, I don't think it works as well. I'm sure in some capacity. I've seen it with snacks, but I don't see it work as well. I mean, you're talking about identifying like business owners that are going to sign up for this versus like having millions of consumers you can sell a product to.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan, but I'm sure somebody's doing something.
Gotcha. I haven't
There's-
seen one.
There's probably
personally.
something like notepads of the month or
Maybe,
pens of the
yeah.
month, but you're starting to stretch now.
Yeah.
All right. Do you send people whatever you have chosen for any given month? Or do you have product 1 for month 1, product 2 for month 2, etc., regardless of when someone starts?
So we have both. We have both those models. We have ones that are you start with one and you move along, and then we have others that it is this month we're going to give you everybody this month something totally different. And so we have a combination of both those, and they both work well.
Yeah, and for us, we just have the model where this is what our box is this quarter, everybody gets that. So regardless of when you come in, you're always starting with that quarter's box. And that was just a decision more on helping us manage kind of costs, because we would be able to plan out and know, okay, this quarter we're going to need X number of products for each box, or product for the number of boxes. And so it was really just to help us kind of manage kind of long-term the cost and number of products and sourcing and everything.
I think both models probably have their own inventory challenges that people have to think through.
Correct.
Right? Yep. Okay. Last question here is, how are you aggregating the data and various campaign metrics at the identity level? Do we need clarity on that from Joanne?
A little more clarity would be helpful, I think.
Stop the paddle, Joanne.
But no, I was just thinking about it because you mentioned like TikTok and Instagram and social and email. And I was just, and a lot of those items don't report at the identity level. So I was just curious, like, how are you aggregating all of this data across all these different data sets and channels?
There's softwares, right? There's like Sublytics, and I mean, there's a ton of softwares that would measure that. They can look at the data, like you can run data by campaign with UTM tracking and like be able to see all of that. You just got to get the right software. And a lot of times it's not cheap in some cases, right? Depending on how much data it's gathering and how granular you want to get. The most important thing I think is that you're able to pull data by campaign, like pull data by marketing campaign and understand the LTV of that segment of individuals. Sometimes there's like this too much broad, like our LTV is this, but like this ad set that was targeting, 35 to 45-year-old males living in New York's got an LTV of like 800. That same similar campaign targeting males in the Bronx, let's say, is like 400, but like we're looking at New York as a whole and saying, oh, the LTV is 600. Like we knew you were looking at more granular and knew how well it was targeting one specific area, then you would like pour more fuel to that fire. You could spend more money on your acquisition cost. Like, and understanding the LTV is going to tell you how much you can spend to acquire a customer. Too many of us are like, well, our LTV is like 150, so we can spend 50 to acquire them. Like you might be able to segment out a group and identify that LTV is actually 300, which then allows me to spend 100 to acquire those customers, and I can spend more money that way and acquire more customers in that category.
Yeah, I love that, Chris. And I think the key is segmentation too, getting that data and then being able to further segment it so that you get that kind of engagement and then look at the metrics to see if it's working. Thank you so much. You guys, this has been a phenomenal panel. So thank you so much.
Completely agree.
I know we started a little late. If we have a minute for those who want to stay on, I would love to hear any parting words of wisdom from each of the panelists relative to, success factors or, one great thing to remember as you go into the subscription box business. Lisa, do we have time for that?
I think you have about 4 more minutes and we're going to have to wrap it up.
All right, very good. So Sarah, do you have any thoughts you want to share on a parting words of wisdom? You've got 1 minute.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess for us, it's just knowing what kind of team you have internally to support the box, and then using that to kind of make a decision on, do you use an outside fulfillment? Do you keep it internal? Who manages your marketing? That type of thing. And then also obviously the product development. Development and sourcing, and it's a lot of work. So you're managing, for us, we're quarterly. Every quarter we have, anywhere from 5 to 7 vendors we're working with on product concepts, samples, pricing, everything. So just kind of knowing that structure of your team and how it's going to help you or hurt you in the long run for launching a box.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. How about you, Mark?
I'd leave with 3 parting pieces. One is leverage the data for all it's worth, right? I mean, data is critical and important. I think 2, it is focus that on the customer experience and how you can maximize that while still being extremely profitable on it. And I would say the 3rd is listen to your customers, right? They're going to tell you a ton of stuff. And just make sure that you can balance that with the first 2.
Very good. Thanks, Mark. How about you, Chris? 1 minute.
They just took them all from me.
Oh, okay.
But I love what Sarah said about the team. Like, you need another department for this. This is a whole new product. I worked with Condé Nast on this when we were partnered with them at GQ, and like, it's a different product offering, different understanding of this product. And then what Mark said about listening to the customers, like, don't guess as to what you think the consumers are going to want. You've got all these customers. You use them to survey them and identify what they're looking for, and then you build the product offering around that. It's going to set you up for success.
Excellent. Everybody, thanks for attending. Panelists, great job. I'm pretty energized. So thank you very much. Lisa, do you have any closing thoughts? Todd?
I just want to thank all of you so much. This is a phenomenal panel. I learned so much. I'm sure everybody that was here did. Thank you for everything, sharing your knowledge and your feedback and answering the questions from everyone. I want to thank you all. Next month is another amazing Candid Convo. We're looking forward to seeing you all then. Guys, again, thank you for your time today. Todd, anything else? Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to SFG for putting this together. Tony, you guys are great.
Open up your calendars, save the date, December 1st, holiday party. Just plan on being with us for the day. Nick's going to do something special.
December 1st, Hearst Tower, please be there. We're looking forward to see all of you in person.